In section 6.6, we're looking at rational equations and problem solving. The first thing we're going to look at is solving equations for a specified variable. The first thing you're going to do is clear the equation of fractions or rational expressions by multiplying each side of the equation by the LCD. You will use the distributive property to remove grouping symbols such as parentheses. You will combine like terms on each side of the equation, and then you're going to solve as normal. So nothing is changing when we solve for a specified variable. Although it looks more complicated than solving an equation, it's the exact same steps. What you want to do is pretend that the variable you're solving for is the only variable involved in the equation and treat the rest as if they were just numbers. So for example number 1, we want to solve for x, and our equation is 1 over x plus 1 over y equals 1 over z. So the goal is to get this x completely by itself. The first thing we need to do is figure out what the LCD is. My LCD is going to be x, y, z. And so that's what I want to multiply every single piece of my equation by. We have x, y, z times 1 over x. We have x, y, z times 1 over y. And we have x, y, z times 1 over z. And so now we're going to cross multiply and simplify. So our x's are going to cancel on the first one, our y cancels in the second, and our z cancels in the third. And so this one's going to be pretty easy because all my numerators are 1, and so whatever wasn't crossed out is what we have left over. So we have yz times 1, we have xz times 1, and then we have xy. Now remember, we're solving for x. So that means anything with an x needs to be on the same side. So I am going to subtract xz from both sides so that we can get both terms with x on the right-hand side. So we have yz equals xy minus xz. Now looking at the right-hand side, they both have an x in common, and so we can take that out of both. So we have yz equals, we're going to take out the x, and what I have left over is y minus z. Well, we want to get x by itself. So we can divide both sides by y minus z. And so on the right-hand side, it's going to completely cancel, and we get x completely by itself, which is what we were looking for. And so x is equal to yz all over y minus z. So the steps were exactly the same as solving an equation. It just looks a little bit more complicated because we have all these variables involved. But the procedure was exactly the same. Now we're going to look at some word problems. So if a certain number is subtracted from the numerator and added to the denominator of 9 over 19, the new fraction is equivalent to 1/3. We want to find the number. So typically, this last sentence tells you what you want your variable to be. So we're going to let x be the number we're looking for. So it says if a certain number is subtracted from the numerator of 9 over 19, so we have 9 because that's in my numerator, minus the x, because that is the number. We don't know what it is. And that certain number is added to the denominator of 9 over 19. And so my denominator is 19. And we are adding that with the x. What we end up getting is a new fraction of 1/3. So this is equal to 1 over 3. And so what we want to do is we need to find our LCD so we can solve this. Well, my LCD is going to be 3 times 19 plus x. And the only value of x I can't have is going to be 0. I'm sorry, it's going to be negative 19. So we're going to multiply both sides by 3 times 19 plus x. And so when we cross multiply, this is going to simplify a lot. The 19 plus x cancels, and the 3 cancels. And so what I have left over on the top is 3 times 9 minus x equals 19 plus x times 1, which is just 19 plus x. So we want to make sure that we're distributing the 3 to both pieces. So we end up with 27 minus 3x equals 19 plus x. And we want to get x to one side and we want to get our constants to the other. And so I'm going to add 3x to both sides. And so we end up with 27 equals 19 plus 4x. And then we want to subtract 19 from both sides. And so we end up with 8 equals 4x, and dividing both sides by 4, we get that x equals 2. And so the number is 2. The next thing we want to look at is proportions. So first off, a ratio is the quotient of two numbers or two quantities. Since rational expressions are quotients of quantities, rational expressions are also ratios. A proportion is a mathematical statement that two ratios are equal. So that just means that two fractions are equal to each other. A ratio of two different quantities is called a rate. So for example, 3 miles over 2 hours, or 1.5 miles per hour, is a rate. In the United States, 7 out of every 20 homes built since 1990 are heated by electricity. At this rate, how many homes in a, community of 36,000 homes built since 1990 would you predict are heated by electricity? So we're going to let X be the number of homes heated by electricity. We know one rate already that we can set this equal to. We know 7 out of every 20 homes built since 1990 are heated by electricity. And so we can write that as 7 over 20 and this is the rate that we want to use to figure out how many in a community of 36,000 are going to be heated. So this is equal to, we know that the total amount of homes, which is on the bottom, is 36,000. But we don't know how many homes out of that 36,000 are heated by electricity. So this is how I would set up my proportion. I have my rate, 7 out of 20, and I want to know with that rate, how many of my homes out of 36,000 are going to have electricity. So here, what we can use is cross multiplication. So 7 times 36,000 and 20 times x. So 7 times 36,000 is equal to 20 times x, or just 20x. Well, 7 times 36,000 is 252,000 equals 20x, and we want to solve for x, so I'm going to divide both sides by 20. And so we end up getting that x, which is the number of homes, is 12,600. And we have one more. So this is solving problems about work. Melissa can clean the house in 4 hours, whereas her husband Zach can do the same job in 5 hours. They have agreed to clean together so that they can finish in time to watch a movie on TV that starts in 2 hours. How long will it take them to clean the house together, and can they finish before the movie starts? So we know that it takes Melissa 4 hours to do one house. So how much does she get done in 1 hour? So in order to figure that out, because this is with 4 hours, and I want to figure out how much she gets done in 1 hour, I'm going to divide both sides by 4. And so in 1 hour, she gets 1/4 of the house clean. Now let's look at her husband, Zach. It takes him 5 hours to clean the house alone. And so how much does he get done in 1 hour? Since I want to look at 1 hour and I have 5 hours, I'm going to divide both sides by 5. And so in 1 hour, he has 1/5 of the house clean. But that's if they do it alone. So we want to figure out how much they're going to get done together with their efforts combined. We don't know what that is. So let's just say together we're going to say X hours because we don't know how long it takes them to do the house together. But we want to know how much they're going to get done in an hour so we can compare it to what we found above. So to get X hours to 1, we're going to divide both sides by X. And so in 1 hour, they get 1 out of X parts of the house clean. So to set up our equation, we're going to take how much of the house Melissa cleans in an hour, which is 1/4, plus the amount of a house that Zach cleans in an hour, which is 1/5, and set it equal to how much they would do together in an hour, which is 1/x. Now that we've set up the equation, we're going to solve this as we have been in the previous problems. So the first thing we need to do is find the LCD, which is going to be 20x. And the only value of x I could not have is 0, which I highly doubt that we're going to get x equals 0 as a solution. But we're going to multiply each piece by 20x. So 20x times 1/4 plus 20x times 1/5 equals 20x times 1/x. And so now we need to cross it off. 4 goes into itself once, and it goes into 25 times. 5 goes into itself once and goes into 24 times. And then the x's are going to cancel here. So what we have left over on the top is 5 times x times 1, or just 5x. We have 4 times x times 1, or 4x, equals 20 times 1, which is 20. And so on the left-hand side, we have some like terms. We have 5x and 4x, which is going to give me 9x, equals 20. And to get x by itself, we want to divide both sides by 9. And so it cancels on the left, and we get x equals 20/9. And this is hours. But that doesn't tell me how long 20/9 is. So let's go ahead and simplify that a little bit. We can write this with a mixed number. 9 goes into 22 times, and we have 2 left over. So this is really 2 2/9 hours. And so will they be able to make the movie in the 2 hours that it starts? Since 2 2/9 is bigger than 2, they will not make the movie.